All right, I'm first. So welcome everyone to the July 20th, 2026 Newberg Urban Renewal Agency meeting. I call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Counselor McBride?
Here.
Counselor Wheatley?
Here.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman is absent so far. Counselor Kilberg?
Here.
Mayor Rossacker?
Here.
Counselor Turgeson?
Here.
And Chair Carmen.
Here.
Thank
And
you.
so for the first part of committee business, we're going to appoint board members. So the first one is the board chair. Do we have any nominations? I'm talking to everyone. Do we have any nominations? Oh,
I don't know if you'd be willing, but I think you'd be great to serve again. So I would nominate Derek if he's willing.
okay, I appreciate that.
Did you second it?
Second.
I actually have a nomination of my own, and I'd like to nominate Jerry. I mean, I've done this for 3 years, and this is involves her district a lot, so I would like to nominate Jerry.
Second.
Currently have two motions on the floor because there's no
nominations. I withdraw my nomination.
All right. So is there any other nominations? Any other discussion? Shall we have a vote? All in favor of Counselor Turgeson becoming the new board chair? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like it all passes unanimously. So I guess I'll hand it over to you.
So the second order of business then would be nomination for a vice chair to help support NURA.
Who is the current vice chair?
Is it?
I'll nominate Mike again.
Second.
So we have a nomination and a second. Is there any discussion or further nominations? Okay, so can we have a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Looks like it's unanimous. Okay. And then our third appointment is the NURA CAC chair. And do we know who the current CAC chair is? Peggy.
But I'm going off the council in December, so
Okay,
shouldn't do it,
so do we have it?
I nominate Robin.
Second.
Thank you. What does the CAC chair do?
Will, do you want to chime in?
Sometimes, although rarely, if something contentious comes up, the NURA group, which is a normal group of residents with no special affiliation to any outside organization, that group may hear ideas such as reviewing plans that may come before the NURA complete board. They haven't met for a while, but the last thing they did was endorse work on a certain street.
Will, you said NURA, but you meant the NURA Citizen Advisory Committee, correct?
Yes, I did.
Just for the record. Can citizens be chair of this committee? No, okay.
So I have a motion and a second for Robin. Will accept. All right. Can we get a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So that's unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then our second order of business, we have the de-annexation of parcels from the Newberg Urban Renewal Area and Plan. So we have a presentation from staff. Thank you.
Oh. Oh. It's just, they're slightly different. But I mean.
Switching slides.
But just by way of introduction, we are on the fourth of 5 steps for this process. So after the 3 hearings you all had at the last council meeting, we will have the hearing for NURA and then the hearing at the council meeting tonight. So almost the end of the de-annexation. All right, so tonight we are looking at resolution number 2026-16, a minor amendment to the Newberg Urban Renewal Plan, removing territory from the area and the plan. Staff's recommendation is to adopt resolution number 2026-16, removing Yamhill County tax lots 3230B 2300, 3230B 6000, 3230B 6100, and 3230 1400 from the Newberg Urban Renewal Area and Plan. So
Did you have a question before we?
I do. Will you remind us why they wanted to de-annex?
Yep, so the community development held a pre-app, might have been 2 years ago now, about doing some development of single-family dwelling and storage facilities in these areas that were annexed back in 2006. I guess we can go, I'll skip ahead a couple slides. So the zoning map there in the middle shows the parcels highlighted in blue. And the red areas are the flood hazard, and then the blue is the stream corridor. So that is part of the rationale is just per the city's restrictions on each of those overlays. It's fairly restricted development wise. And then also, you can see on the map on the right, the utilities from the subdivisions end just to the northeast, and the cost of extending those and kind of the associated infrastructure is prohibitively expensive. So staff has concurred with that analysis from the applicants, and so that's why they came thus far. So they were annexed in 2006, and then they are just over 28 acres in size combined. On June 15th, council adopted resolution number 2026-4032, declaring the intent to withdraw the territory from the city limits, held a public hearing, and then adopted order number 2026-47, fixing a time and place for a final hearing, which will happen at the subsequent city council meeting tonight. And then tonight, the Urban Renewal Agency will consider this to remove it from the area and plan, and then we'll hold the final hearing at the next meeting tonight. Those are the parcels again. And then the 2025 assessed values for the lots were 3,600, 47,000, 50,000, and 2,600 roughly. It's in sub areas B and C of the area plan, and there are no projects on the area. I believe the Esplanade in B runs up to it, but doesn't cross onto the properties itself. And then the reason that this is coming to NURA is at the time of the adoption of the plan, the county approved unincorporated areas, but required the city to go to a vote in order to include them. And so the city chose to withdraw those areas from the plan. But so by de-annexing, this would make these newly unincorporated parcels. And so after consulting with James, we would then have to go back to the county to ask them to include those newly unincorporated parcels into the plan. So we chose to go this route and take it out of both. The resolution is written to be dependent on final withdrawal. So if for some reason tonight council chooses not to annex, it would stay within the urban renewal area until that is finally approved. And then one last note. So we are taking those four parcels and associated tax increment out of the plan. The plan requires that 5 years after the first tax increment is received, the city do an update and review of the plan. And so the resolution just requires that at the time of that update, all of these changes are incorporated for review of future funding, et cetera. So these changes will be incorporated back into the fiscal planning at the time that finance does their review. So that's all for me, unless there are any questions.
Do we know how much taxes we're going to be losing if we de-annex? I mean, I just see assessed values, but how much will the city be? There's no amount on here.
We can do some math between now and the city council meeting. I don't have the math in front of me. But the parcels are vacant currently, so there is an improved value. It's the land value, so it's a.
So we don't know how much they've paid in taxes? I guess that's what I'm wondering. How much they paid over time in taxes?
If the values that he had up there amounted to about $100,000. Katie, what's our millage rate? Oh, I thought you'd know it off the top of your head. I'm sorry. It's gonna be like $20, right? On 100,000?
The,
No, 200. My mistress.
yeah, yeah.
200, roughly.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I move we adopt NURA Resolution 2026-16.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. And I think that's it. Yeah? Any other business? Okay, so I'm going to close the meeting. Thank you.
Welcome. It is July 20th, Newberg City Council meeting. I call this meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Certainly. Counselor McBride,
Here.
Counselor Wheatley,
Here.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman. Just joined online. I don't know if she can speak yet. Let's see.
Hey, hi.
All right, thank you. Counselor Kilberg,
Here.
Mayor Rossacker,
Here?
Counselor Turgeson,
Here.
and Counselor Carmen.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it is time for one of our favorite parts of the meeting, city manager report.
Statistics. Woo. Planning. Combined planning decisions of all sorts. There were 11. Each one a significant decision to the person affected, and many taking many hours of work. Building permits for housing units, there were 7. And other types of permits, 84. And that's trending up a bit, as you can see. And building inspections, only 1.5 blokes. That's people. There were 300 of those inspections. That's pretty cool. Community engagement, there were 30 questions came in through the website that were answered. And just for fun, I changed the way the bar chart looks on top. We had 29,264 events of social media engagement, which were click-throughs, opens, file downloads, or whichever type of triggering action. And that's just about as high as it's ever been. Public record requests, 9. And these 9 requests, many of which took several hours of research in, as you know from Rachel's presentation last time. We had 2.15 million of payments from accounts payable and 1.13 million of payroll. And the largest check amounts for this particular period, a couple of months ago that we're looking at, was Cedar Mill Construction, 155,134.70 for one of the last parts of the covering the water basins at the groundwater treatment plant. A water pipe replacement that happened, conducted by Pacific North Construction, was $70,132, and Keller Associates, and this was for a wide variety of different projects, combined together, $81,808.25. And HR, as usual, working extremely hard, only 2 people, 6 recruitments advertised, 4 hires, 6 separations, and 2 claims of all sorts. And in this batch, we were recruiting for both types of dispatcher, both types of police officer, public works operations staff, and a tech 1. IT resolved 185 service tickets for the city. And you can see that that trend is going down. And recently that's been because of moving to the Azure virtual desktop. I will say that when the numbers for this month come out, they're going to be a lot higher because things weren't going so well this morning. But people were on it. And there were 3 after-hours on-call events, but nothing major. Library activity, explosive as always, 7,889 on the door count and 32,834 circulation events. And this has been a big success story for the city. For those of you at home who managed to watch the 4-year summary that I did a few months ago, the statistics have just been going up and up and up every year. Public safety, 2,377 calls for service, and that's a really big number if you look at our averages. And also 781 traffic stops, another very busy time, right, for that period 2 months ago. And as a result, 644 citations and warnings were issued to various folks, mostly speeding and whatnot. However, 6 particularly stupid people chose to drive vehicles while intoxicated, and so we had 6 of those events. (2,033 911 calls occurred, and 3050 emergency calls. And some of this, though, I do know the 911 calls were skewed because there was some kind of ghost callings problem with the software that we had to take the calls anyway, but there was nobody on the line. So that statistic got skewed a bit, and the chief can explain that better than me, perhaps, if there's any questions about that one. But that was a mechanical thing. We still have to answer them. Water production. 79.38 million gallons of some of the most fresh and delicious water that a person could possibly drink. And an almost exactly the same amount of the other stuff was exuded by our residents and went off and got processed. Public Works, 1,421 work orders were completed, and currently we see that work order completion is back up, coming up again. And I think partly that might be because of breaking into these separate new teams that we are doing. And that is the end of the totals for the May 2026 batch of yummy statistics. Any questions, folks?
Sort of related. Will there be any more compost this summer? Yes?
So the compost took quite a hit as a lot of it went over to prepare for the 4th of July field. We were spread many yards of that out there to make the grassy area so people could be comfortable and watch the fireworks. I believe, though, that they are expecting the amounts to start increasing again. And as we say, that we're always making more.
So this for the chief, on the 911 calls, the ones that when you answered and nobody was there, how did you know that it wasn't somebody that had maybe passed out, or how did you determine that?
I don't think they were tracked by Annie Alley, so they didn't come back to a particular address. But it still takes time to answer every single one of those and do your best to ensure there is not someone on the other end. So it took a lot of staff time.
And in the permanent archival copy of this, I'm going to make a note of what happened that month so that if it blips up in 4 or 5 years, we know what the spike was.
So next on our agenda is public comments. First, we have Leisha Adams. Hi, Leisha. Welcome to City Council.
My name is Leisha Adams. I'm a Newberg resident. Have you ever had one of those weeks where there starts to be a trend, a weird trend? And for me this week, that was, it's actually been about 2 weeks, city committees. I had the honor earlier this year of sitting on the rate review committee with Mr. Knight, who's here in the room, and Councillor Kilberg. And I was asked by email, myself and several others who sat on committees, to help the city recruit at the September Art Walk. Very happy to do that. I loved the rate review committee, and I loved asking Mr. Worthy about 100 questions in every single session. He was very patient with me. And then last 2 weeks ago, I was here for council and heard the discussion about Illinois Street and the almost wonderment with which it was considered that the Traffic Safety Commission might have had some input to give about the initial decision or about the decision that you considered 2 weeks ago. And then this past week, I've been hearing about that the River Street Ad Hoc Committee was going to be put on the agenda to offer their report when they are only halfway through their meetings and couldn't possibly have had their work completed in this amount of time. And it just made me think about the nature of these committees. these city committees are volunteers. We are an essential part of the municipal government because there are 7 of you and your careers did not equip you to make all of these decisions. So I would ask you to please consider the input from these committees and commissions and take advantage of them. Don't just use them as an escape hatch for ill-informed decisions, to escape the consequences of those ill-informed decisions. And people like me, normal people like me in the community, we're paying attention and we're listening and considering if this city council really values the voices of its constituents. There's been a lot of debate about that in the last 6 months, including about public comment rules. So I'm asking you, please, don't just sit back and listen to reports about how wonderfully everything's going in the city, but really step in and listen and lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And next, we have Jim Tall. Hi, Jim. Welcome. Thank you. Good to see you.
Jim Talt, Newberg resident. I was at the River Street Town Hall gathering on March 9th, and I'm here tonight because I'm thinking it might be helpful for you to hear my firsthand account of that meeting. I learned of the town hall from the city website, which had a banner announcement flying, on the homepage, and it was also listed on the city calendar. River Street is NURA territory, and I was on the Citizen Advisory Committee with Councilor Molly Olson and later with Councilor Kilberg. So I went to the town hall. It was very well attended. Maybe 30, 35 people, certainly more than are here tonight. The city manager and staff were there, and I think I recall that there were like 3 from the consulting team. And they gave a very professional presentation and took audience questions. There were 10-foot long plots of 3 design concepts that were laid out on long tables in the middle of the room right here. And after the presentation, virtually everyone got up to inspect those designs and ask further questions, and everybody mingled, staff, consultants, and residents. There was definitely a perceptible tension in the room. You could hear it in people's voices when they spoke, but everyone, and I mean everyone to their credit, remained civil throughout the whole meeting. Here's my overall assessment. There was not a public outreach problem because it was a very well attended and professionally conducted meeting. The problem was that people understandably didn't like what they saw. And that was not an outreach problem, that was a design problem. There's no way to sugarcoat the message. There's an 80-foot right-of-way, and you could lose a chunk of your yard. Happily, an improved design concept is evolving that offers relief for many of the early issues. The other thing to remember is that the River Street Ad Hoc Committee is itself part of the public outreach process, and that committee, under Councilor Turgeson's guidance, is making progress on all fronts. I hope this information is helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we have some visitors with us today. Would you like to come on up? We have the princesses and the Queen, the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival. My understanding is you have something that you want to say, so feel free.
Hi, I'm Maggie Taylor, and I am the queen of the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival this year. I'm going into my senior year at Newberg High School, and I am so excited to be here and see more of my community and meet new people and create outreach with others. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, my name is Gina Rogers. I'm the princess this year. And in September, I'll be attending college at PCC, studying education. And I'm so excited to be here because my family loved going to the Old Fashioned Festival when I was a kid. And I'm so glad I get to see all of you there if you go. Thank you. Hi, I'm Georgia Fail. I'm a princess. I'm a princess. I don't know what I was gonna say. I'm going into my junior year at Newberg High School, and I'm so thankful for being on the court. Thank you so much for having us.
Hi, my name is Juliana. I just graduated fifth grade at Dundee Elementary. I'm going to Chehalem Valley Middle School. I am junior princess this year, and we are so excited to see all of you guys at the festival. Thank you.
Want to take a picture?
Sure. Who do you want?
Wherever you like them. We're gonna gather, community council.
So we have one more piece of business for the Old Fashioned Festival. And this is a proclamation declaring July 23rd through 26th, 2026 as Newberg Old Fashioned Festival Week in the city of Newberg. Whereas the city of Newberg is a family-friendly community that hosts many gatherings, numerous celebrations, and a variety of entertainment venues, events in which the old friends and new friends alike can gather. And whereas each year, the city of Newberg and many members of the community participate by celebrating community spirit during the last full weekend in July. And whereas the city of Newberg welcomes the community and the visitors each year to join them in the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival activities and enjoy the camaraderie and sense of community built by the festival of this extent. Whereas the Newberg Old Fashioned Festival theme for this year is Then and Now, signifying the community tradition in celebrating Newberg's history, local businesses, and small town spirit, celebrating 100 years of Newberg together. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bill Rossacker, along with the City Council of Newberg, do hereby proclaim July 23rd through 26th, 2026 as Newberg Old Fashioned Festival Week in the city of Newberg. So I'm wearing a volunteer shirt because one event that we had when I was very young was a pie eating contest at the Berrien Festival. We are going to bring that back this year. So please join us about 1 o'clock on Saturday at the area where the pancake feed is. And we're going to have some fun and get our faces in some pie. Good to see you, ladies. Thank you for joining us today.
Bill, do you want to give them the proclamation?
I'm sorry?
Give them the
Okay.
proclamation.
Got a pen?
Thank you.
Since I've been on council, I've had opportunity to observe the ladies. And when I'm up making pancakes with the Rotary before 7 o'clock in the morning, these ladies will show up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You know that they've been up for a couple hours getting ready to that point. And throughout the day, they will change clothes several times. And they will always be there with a smile on their face and a friendly attitude. Very, very, it's fun to watch you guys during that festival. So next on our agenda is a public hearing today, and it's the follow-up of what we just had, the de-annexation of property from the city limits.
Good evening again. My name is James Dingwall, for the record, one of the planners, and we are going to be looking at,
James, you know, I'm looking at you because I just realized again, this is a legislative hearing. We got some things to take care of here. So first of all, this hearing is to consider the annexation, de-annexation, ordinance number 2026-2945. I will open the public hearing. Citizens will be able to testify on the issue by first submitting a public comment registration at the back of the table should they wish to speak. At this point, we need to, the council, each of the council members need to declare conflicts of interest or absentations. Do any of the councilors have? All right. Next is our staff report. James, good to see you.
all right. So tonight we are looking at ordinance number 2026-2945, detaching territory from the city limits. This is considering Council Goal 4, implementing a careful and prudent fiscal policy. Objective 3, ensuring that the city has a long-term financial plan and that supports its goals and objectives, and furthering strategic planning and growth with local taxing districts. Staff's recommendation is to adopt ordinance number 2026-2945, declaring Yamhill County tax lots 3230B 2300, 3230B 6000, 3230B 6100, and 3230 1400 detached from the city. The applicants approached the city and held a pre-application meeting, and these properties were annexed in 2006 through ordinance number 2006-2651. They're zoned R2 medium density residential in the Riverfront District and contain significant areas of the stream corridor and the areas of special flood hazard overlay, and are just over 28 acres in size. On June 15th, 2026, the council adopted resolution number 2026-4032, declaring the intent to withdraw the territory, held a public hearing, and then adopted order number 2026-47, fixing a time and place for tonight's final public hearing. And then before this meeting, the Newberg Urban Renewal Agency adopted resolution number 2026-16, removing the territory from the Newberg Urban Renewal Area and Plan. Here you can see the sites, the zoning, and the utilities, and the materials as well. And then here, on the left shows the parcels that were part of the original annexation. So the subject areas are to the bottom there, and then it also included some of the park area, and then what was included in the subdivision in that proposed R2RD. So the majority of the annexation is either park or has been developed with the River Run subdivision. Reviewing the process per the ORS, so City Council adopted the resolution initiating the withdrawal, held the initial public hearing, and then considered the order to set the final date. Tonight, you're holding the final public hearing within the timeline set out in the ORS. NURA approved the minor amendment that will go into effect if the de-annexation is approved. And then tonight, council will consider by ordinance officially detaching the territory from the city. We referred the application to Yamhill County, and initial discussions have indicated that the sites will revert to the previous county zoning prior to the annexation, and the withdrawn areas will remain subject to any bonded or other indebtedness existing when de-annexed. And then also included in the ordinance is the condition that the applicants sign a waiver to the changing land use approvals, and then a non-protest agreement for the city to remove them from DGB. So either through the 1537 process or later housing needs analysis type UGB amendments if the site is de-annexed and won't be developed to urban densities. The city will likely at some point look to remove that from the urban growth boundary and allocate that growth area elsewhere. The assessed values are included in the packet, and we did trace down that the city from 25 to 26 received $312.09 for the properties, and the Urban Renewal Agency received $28.70. So, and then related to the Senate Bill 1537. So there is currently the open solicitation for one-time UGB expansion bids that closes July 31st. If the city council chooses not to proceed with that one-time option, there is still the land swap option. And so this newly unincorporated area that will still be in the UGB until removed could be a candidate to swap these 30 acres for a 30 acre somewhere else. So at the time that we bring the 1537 back to council, that will be included in the suite of options for you all to consider. And then one final note is part of the annexation process, and then similarly, the de-annexation process is to get the legal descriptions and surveys approved by the Department of Revenue. We send it off for a preliminary review, and they had some possible changes. So there is a tentative legal description included in the exhibits. And then once we hear back, Rachel and staff will deliberate if it's substantive changes enough to bring back to council, or if it's could be possibly consent agenda or some other way to approve those changes. But the tax lots won't change. It's just possible that the state might require the language of the legal description altered somewhat. So staff's recommendation is to adopt ordinance number 2026-2945, declaring Yamhill County tax lots 3230B 2300, 3230B 6000, 3230B 6100, and 3230 1400 detached from the city. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next is public testimony. I'm opening public testimony. We have no public testimony at all, so public testimony is closed. James just gave his recommendation, which was to approve ordinance number 2026-2945. Is there any further discussion? Somebody want to make a motion? Please.
I move that we adopt resolution 2026-2945. Or ordinance. I'm sorry, it's an ordinance. I have to read it? Oh, waive the second reading. Thank you.
By title only, waive the second reading.
I move we adopt ordinance number 2026-2945 by title only and waive the second reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2026-2945 and by title only and waive the second reading. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, thank you.
All right, the ordinance title is an ordinance declaring Yamhill County tax lots 3230B 02300 and 3230B 06000 and 3230B 6100 and 3230 1400 detached from the city. Counselor McBride?
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley?
Yes.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman?
Yes.
Counselor Kilberg?
Yes.
Mayor Rossacker?
Yes.
Counselor Turgeson?
Yes.
Counselor Carmen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that was painless. Sort of. Next item on our agenda is report from Waste Management. Didn't realize that was our staff that was going to give this report. Good to see you.
So, Mayor, you also need to open the legislative hearing for this one as well.
Well, I was not told. This legislative hearing? All right.
Oh, it's a special resolution.
Yes. Okay. So I call this legislative hearing to order. This is hearing to consider wastewater transportation queuing lanes. I will open the public hearing. Citizens will be able to testify on this issue by first submitting a public comment registration at the back table should they wish to speak. At this point, do any counselors have conflicts of interest or absentations to declare? Seeing none, we're ready for our staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeremiah Cromie, Associate Planner for the record. So the project before you tonight is actually in Yamhill County, and I'll go through that. So when there's projects in the urban growth boundary or urban reserve area, in certain circumstances, the county requests that the city provide them a recommendation before they issue their final decision. So that is why this matters before you tonight regarding the waste management queuing lanes at the transfer station on Winooski. So Waste Management plans on adding 4 new queuing lanes at the waste transfer station on Winooski, and staff would recommend adopting Resolution 2026-4037 tonight, recommending Yamhill County approves. So just a little background, as you're all aware, in the last couple of council meetings, we've had extensive discussions on known issues on queuing problems backing onto Winooski Road. And so they're proposing 4 new queuing lanes. And as I mentioned, the current Newberg Urban Management Agreement requires the city to make recommendation for items having substantial land use, health, and safety. And so that is why this is before you. Yamhill County will, however, have the final decision. So on your map there, so it's adjacent to city limits with the concrete plant there, where the waste management queuing lanes are, and I'll show the next slide here in a minute, is on that would be your left parcel with that shaded flood hazard area, and then their transfer station and on the right there. And the one on the left is currently in the urban growth boundary, and the one that actually has the building on it is within the urban reserve area of the city. So here's a map of their proposed queuing lanes, and then they're transitioning the existing queuing lanes as exit lanes. So as part of the Newberg Urban Management Agreement, council recommends with conditions, future development plans in those areas to be consistent with the city's goals and guidelines, and making sure that future development plans align. So staff and the findings you'll see in your packet, it doesn't preclude future development of the site with driveways. You can still put in utilities. You can extend the waste transfer station if it were to be annexed into the city. It would come in as heavy industrial. So staff finds it meets it, and we recommend adopting Resolution 2026-4037. We did make some recommendations for conditions in to Yamhill County, including putting cameras on the building for queuing so people could see how long the queuing lines are, as well as sidewalk on the urban growth boundary parcel, and then some other just mechanical solutions, which I think Waste Management can tell you about tonight coming up. And they are here, as well as their consultants online if you have more questions for the applicant that I may not be able to answer for you.
All right. So at this point, I need to open public comments. I have one public comment registered. Are they online?
They should be good to go. We call their name. All right, Piper, it sounds like we're ready for you.
Oh, all right.
Can you hear
Piper
me?
Crawford, are you available?
Yes, sorry, I missed it. I was getting put on as a panelist, so I missed your.
Can you turn the volume up? We're
Can you hear
having
me
just
all
a...
right?
That's better. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Piper Crawford. I'm the civil project engineer for this project at Waste Management. I am available for any comments for this design. We permitted this through the county of Yamhill, but I'm aware that this is under the urban growth boundary agreement. So If there are any questions for the design, myself and Dan Velde are here as well.
Go ahead, Robin.
Hey there, I have a couple questions.
Oh.
Hi, I have a couple questions about the queuing lane. So there's going to be 4 now. How many cars can line up in those 4 lanes?
Yeah, we did a turning study a little while ago. Let me just pull that up.
How many cars? And I mean, a lot of people have trucks with trailers too. So
Yeah, we did a turning study in the conservative estimate with trucks with trailers. Let me just pull that up. And if there's any other questions in the meantime while I pull that up.
I also have another question. So the 2 lanes going in currently, is that going to be the exit for people, or what is going to happen with those lanes?
I'll defer to Waste Management to answer that question. I believe they're at the meeting.
Your Piper can help. Hi, Council. This is Dan Velde, KPFF Project Manager. The 2 existing lanes are planned to both be exits.
Hold on just a minute.
He's part of the same.
No, I understand. This is not public comment. You're part of the, you're here to testify. Let me go ahead and close public comments, which I have just done. So now please answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The 2 existing lanes, which are 1 entry and 1 exit, or 2 entries right now, we'll convert 1 to an exit so that vehicles exiting the facility aren't going through the internals of Waste Management's site. The hope is dependent on capacity that they could both become exits, but it is possible that 1 will remain in inbound lane and 1 will be an exit lane.
And I was able to pull up that turning study, and with a conservative estimate, with each vehicle pulling a trailer, we can fit 19 additional vehicles in those lanes.
I have another question. You may or may, this may be for Waste Management, but are you guys are there plans to separate the trucks and trailers? Because I know they have a new area for cars to drop small amounts. Are they going to have another lane? I think that was the thinking, that would speed the process up if the small cars could be in 1 lane and get through faster. Do you guys have plans? How you're going to organize the traffic, perhaps?
I think we'll defer to Waste Management on that item. We don't have specific.
Would you
plans
guys like to
related
come on up? But obviously the council has questions for you. Welcome. Good to see you guys again.
Good evening, Jason Willie, District Manager of Newberg Operations. Currently at this time, there's not a plan to separate vehicles due to the fact that checking with our safety team, I would have to figure out some way to put a car barricade down there so that my employee wouldn't be ran over in any way. And we haven't come up with a good way to do that at this time.
I'm just wondering how many people are lined up on Winooski right now. Is that that will get everybody off Winooski?
For the last 10 days, we've had 2 days where there's been cars out on Winooski. Other than that, they've all been contained on our property. This afternoon was very bad. Earlier in the day, there was 3 people in line all day long, and at 3 o'clock, it seems like the floodgates opened and everybody in Newberg had trash to bring to us. Other than that, they've all been contained on property.
I have lots of questions. Should I keep going, or does Jerry have a question? So if we pass this goes to the county, then when do you guys anticipate you will start building this?
The plan is to start in October.
Completion date?
We don't have a completion date. I'd say estimated would be, Dan, do you have a approximate date you would think for this?
It's hard to say depending on how quickly we're able to get a contractor under contract. We will need to pave not in the middle of winter, and so that might be the long lead time here. I think the worst case scenario is this is early summer of 2027, with the best case scenario being end of fall this year.
So I have a question for our staff. I'm not quite understanding why we are dealing with this because it's in the county. I know it has to do with the urban growth boundary and the urban growth reserve. Can you enlighten us a little more on that?
Yeah, so as part of the Newberg Urban Management Agreement, anytime there's development that has health or safety, and you've had a couple partitions come before you recently for future development in UGB or the urban reserve areas, Yamhill County sends a request to the city for that recommendation before they will approve a project. So as part of that agreement, we're required to give them a recommendation before they issue a decision. Does that answer your question, Mayor?
And if I may add, Mayor Scott Siegel, Community Development Director, the Urban Growth Management Agreement specifically says that the City Council, I believe, is to make that recommendation. So that's why it's before you. There are other decisions that the county makes outside of our city limits that are referred to the city for comments routinely, but this is elevated because of the development.
So why aren't we annexing this into the city? Why is it staying in Yamhill County?
So and this is a nuanced question because we have part of the West Transfer Station, the urban reserve area, which would then have to be brought into the urban growth boundary area, which is another separate process, a long process. And then we have this small sliver that's in the urban growth boundary that could be annexed. So could the one portion be annexed? Yes, although typically outside of Island, you typically have a property owner petition to annex into the city. In this case, we do not have that, but it's something we could look into further if you would like.
I guess I'm looking for direction from you as to, what triggers that decision. Should we be putting them on the path to getting them annexed into the city at the same time, or should we not?
Yeah, Mayor, I think, we welcome any property owner, institution, commercial, industrial, residential who would like to annex into the city. However, it is a consensual process. So we would work with Waste Management. It may be to their benefit actually to come into the city. We would need to go through that process of amending the urban growth boundary to bring in their entire site so that it would be fully operational and consistent with our zoning. But we would welcome that conversation with Waste Management if they're interested. We have demonstrated through our economic opportunities analysis that there's a deficit of industrial land within our urban growth boundary. So we've taken the first step in evaluating our needs, whether the city would want to do that or approach that on a parcel by parcel basis, or to look at the land needs comprehensively and take a more strategic approach on industrial lands. We would look for your direction on that, because we do have a demonstrated need for approximately, I think it's over 100 acres of industrial land. This would be a very relatively small portion of that.
I mean, I don't want to get off the subject too much, but I mean, if we were going to look in the direction that you're suggesting, I think that would be good to look at all that land in there. I mean, is the Cal cement place, is it in the county? And the land on the west side of that, is that also in the county? And if so, we ought to be looking at bringing that whole chunk in through there into the city.
So Councilor McBride, so on the map there, the cement plant is within city limits currently. So it's kind of hard to see on this screen here, but just to the south of Winooski there, outside of that, yes, thank you, Rachel. That green line is our urban reserve area there that goes around. The only portion that's currently within the urban growth boundary is that portion, that long, skinnier parcel. The rest is all within the urban reserve area currently. So as Director Siegel was talking about as part of the economic opportunities analysis, that could be looked at. There are some constraints just with the flood hazard area there. But most of that is already occupied by waste management lease at that site.
If I may, not to belabor the point, this is I believe, a land use application that the owner has filed with the county. So the process from their perspective is they're seeking your comment, your recommendation, under our urban growth management agreement. We're expected to respond to that one way or the other. They're going to process the land use application. So you could choose not to comment or not to make a recommendation, or to go ahead and make a recommendation. And then the county will process the application.
Okay, so the recommendation is just going to be to allow the queuing lanes. It has nothing to do with the land use, is that right?
That's correct. So they submitted to Yamhill County. So it should be a recommendation to Yamhill County, who has the final decision authority on the application currently. We just have the new MAC or the urban management agreement for that recommendation.
Yeah. And it is worth noting to Planning Director Siegel's comments earlier that we will, of course, be bringing the wider land use issues back to council and considering many possible parcels at that time that may be eligible for swaps among that basket of options. And although that's more sort of residential thinking, we also will have other opportunities to look at industrial land as well and think about what we might be able to do separate from this very narrow issue.
I'm going to go back to the 4 lanes in. So it sounds like 4 lanes in, and then is it 2 lanes outbound or is it 1 lane outbound? I felt like I heard both from, but
we've had many discussions on it, trying to figure out what we're going to do with the inbound lanes. When we were originally, one of the options we were talking about is customers that have accounts with us. We were going to make that an account only line and then 1 outbound line. So virtually giving us 5 lanes. But looking back now with having the office open, Monday through Friday, now we're thinking that the parking spots up front, we need to be able to utilize those for the residents coming into the office. So we're probably just going to go with 1 outbound lane, so that way those parking spots will be readily available for customers coming to the office. But it's a moving target right now, so we really don't have an idea what we're ultimately going to end up with.
okay. So it sounds like the biggest benefit is that this will clear the traffic that can back up out onto Winooski. I love hearing that there's more outbound capacity, but I also heard you all say that one of the biggest barriers was the speed of residents unloading their own items. So there's still potential for very long waits, maybe. Is that fair?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. Dave Huber, WM's Public Sector Manager. Yeah, there's a couple of components here. This is the first step. And so this is what we really need to get, the roads or Wadewski Road, the traffic off the road. So that's the first and foremost, the safety aspect. Once we get them off the road, then we can figure out these fine details. I think that that everybody's kind of asking about, and really see what works best, in terms of getting the throughput quicker. But once this, we do have a topic here after this is done, just providing some updates as to what we have done, which I think will shed some positive light on the throughput and things that we've done here just recently. So.
So we've already had your staff recommendation, which is to approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Would somebody like to make a motion? Robin?
I move we adopt resolution number 2026-4037.
By title only. Waive the second
Title
reading.
only, waive what?
Waive the second reading.
Waive the second reading.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approved resolution 2026-4037 by title only and waive the second reading. Is there any further discussion? Rachel?
Title is a resolution recommending that Yamhill County approve the proposed 4 new queuing lanes at the Newberg Transfer Station at 2904 Northeast Winooski Road, Yamhill County Tax Lots R322801800 and R322801700. All right, Counselor McBride,
Yes.
Counselor Wheatley,
Yes.
Counselor Yarnell Holloman,
Yes.
Counselor Kilberg,
Yes.
Mayor Rossacker,
Yes.
Counselor Turgerson,
Yes.
and Counselor Carmen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Were you wanting to make another report?
Yes, Mayor, if that's okay. So, yes, good evening again. Following our June 15th annual report, as you all know, there were understandable concerns about the conditions at our facility, particularly as customer volumes have increased at our site. We heard that feedback clearly from you, and we viewed it as a call to action. So over the past month, Jason Willey, Jason Brown, they and their team have worked diligently to evaluate those concerns, implement improvements, and invest additional resources where needed. I've joked here recently that both Jasons went into the conference room, locked the door, hid the key, and didn't come out until they had a plan that would make a real difference. And in reality, they did. They worked tirelessly to develop and implement solutions that are already having a positive impact right now. The letter that is before you, it's part of the packet this evening, summarizes those efforts and the tangible progress that has been made in those areas of safety, traffic flow, customer wait times, and operational efficiency. We appreciate the council's engagement on these issues, and we're committed to being a responsive community partner as we continue to make improvements. With that, I just would like Jason Willey to speak to those recent actions and improvements quickly. Jason. Oh. Why?
So we've established a new unloading area on the backside of our transfer station. What we refer to as the Z-wall, as a concrete pad back there. It was used years ago. We got in contact with DEQ, made sure it was still part of our solid waste permit, that we could utilize that space, made sure we're still in compliance for stormwater management under all of our permitting. DEQ approved that. We still had that available to do if we wanted to. So Mr. Brown and myself got a hold of some contractors because it had a handrail that was about 6 feet in, which would have made it very difficult to offload vehicles there. got a hold of our safety team, made sure that we could move the handrail, made sure we met all OSHA standards. So we have had that handrail moved out. We've got containers down below. We can stage unloading vehicles, 7 vehicles at a time unloading, and we can stage another 6 to 7 on the pathway down to there. And we have a flagger down there that's directing traffic and keep an eye on the containers so they don't overflow and material fall on the ground. It's been very beneficial. It took some time to get it all in place, and we're, Brown and I, like Dave said, we locked ourselves in a conference room. I think we're on about plan N when we started at A, so it's practically changed every day since we've implemented this process back there. Increasing outbound transportation. We've talked to our third-party hauler who transports all the waste out of the facility for us, depending on its destination. He managed to find us 3 more additional trailers to help with capacity coming in. We're slated to get 5 more new 53-foot possum belly trailers by the end of October, which will again help us with the loading process. Currently, to date, we're behind about 5 to 6 trailers a night, being able to get that floor clean on a nightly basis. Adding operational staffing, of course, takes some time. We have got an offer out to another equipment operator. We have one offer out to another scale house attendant. We're hoping to extend another offer for another scale house attendant, hopefully by the end of this week. We've got some interviews. But with that, the equipment operator is being transferred to us from Tualatin Valley Waste Recovery in Hillsborough. He'll be starting with us the 1st of August. As soon as that new operator is there, we are going to increase the operational time for our employees. We're going to be there from 5:30 in the morning until about 8 o'clock at night, trying to process this waste and get it out there as fast as possible. Typically, we go to summer hours, Memorial Day to Labor Day. Those hours are going to be year-round going forward. So it'll be 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. for the public. And if we need to look at increasing the hours for the public coming in to dump, we will take a look at that. But if we can manage it in that time year-round, that's what we plan on doing. May need to take a look at that. We may need to expand it, but we don't know at this time until we start doing some more research and some studies on that process.
Thank you, Jason. I think it's important to note too that, as I mentioned, we were here in front of you with our annual report back on June 15th. They locked themselves in the conference room. July 2nd, they made those changes. If anybody has frequented Winooski Road since July 2nd, you have noticed a huge improvement with the traffic flow. There's only been maybe 2-3 days where there's been vehicles out on Winooski, which is a testament to that back area that they've been able to utilize since then. So now we still need those QE lanes that that you just approved, but it's made a huge difference just already. So it's great to see. Finally, I would just like to remind everyone that our office is available and open to the public Monday through Friday, 12 to 5 p.m. Dave Marie is there to answer or take care of any service-related matters. The email to contact her is Newberg, Oregon operations@wm.com, and that is posted on our Newberg website. We would also like to come back in a few months to provide further updates. And on behalf of all of our WM Newberg team, we thank you for your trust in providing the best solid waste services to our community here in Newberg. With that, open it up to any further questions that you may have.
Well, I've been going by recently and just looking, and you're right, the traffic isn't on Winooski like it used to be. But I went to the dump last Friday and with a small pickup load, and I was directed to go down behind the facility to this smaller area for residential loads, and I thought that was really, really good to have that set up. I think that was a good move on your guys' part. And it seemed for us that had smaller loads there, it just was easier to get in, get it unloaded, and then get out. So thanks for paying attention to our concerns and fixing it. And I think this 4-lane is going to be really, really good. That's going to be a huge improvement.
I agree with Councilor McBride. Thank you. And I also want to just sincerely say thank you for taking our comments so seriously and taking action so quickly. And in a large corporation, I know that can be really hard. So thank you for doing that. One update, I had committed to doing some research legwork from the legislative side. I'm happy to hear that you got DEQ to do something positive for us all. But there is a committee right now. There's a joint committee on solid waste for the Willamette Valley that's currently underway through the legislature. And I attended that last Friday or the Friday before. And I think it's really important that we as a council stay up to date on that committee. That committee is really tasked to develop a solution for the Willamette Valley for solid waste. I know that Waste Management has alternative options as well, and we're lucky to have access to some of those options. But I believe that there will be large increases to solid waste across our region when we fully understand the impact of the denial of the Coffin Butte Hub. I don't think we know what those are. And I think it's important that common sense people like ourselves have a seat at that table at the joint committee, because they're making highly, in my opinion, what will be cost increase decisions. And so I do think that this is an opportunity, since it seems like I feel like we've had alignment on this issue, for us to try to take some action together to at least, I think that would be the area where we would want to write a joint letter. So that's the first thing. Second, I wonder if it would be possible, and this is not a requirement, obviously, but I think we don't always do the best job in government of rounding back. And we wait until a complaint happens to circle back to have some progress or accountability. So I'm wondering if it would be possible to develop some KPIs to report back in a more frequent nature, since we have received, each one of us, lots of concerns around customer service. And one of those I would really appreciate, if you're going to have the cameras on the exterior of the building, would be wait time, at your average wait time for weekday and weekends, and by hour. So what are you experiencing on a 7-day trend or a 5-day trend for weekday and then 2-day trend for weekend for, 7 to 9 a.m. and then 9 a.m. Like, do an actual scale. And then also like giving a comparative to other transfer stations. So what is that in comparison to one in a region nearby? And then thirdly, I also continue to hear customer service complaints of just service. And so I think that a KPI around that of specifically trash not being picked up at people's homes. I will say I have been one of them recently, and it's super frustrating. And even the video camera footage sent to my house was of someone else's home. So I think there's a myriad of issues underway. And I think that this is an opportunity, because you are so engaged, to try to really demonstrate to the community that we're taking it seriously.
Let me address the wait time thing. As yesterday, we sat down with the office staff and we came up with a form as of yesterday, and we're going to start handing it out to people in line. So we'll know that if you're at the corner of the building, we're going to hand you a piece of paper and say, turn this into the scale house when you get there. So we'll be able to tell the corner of the building to dumping is about this time. From the edge of the street to dumping is this time. 4 cars back in line is about this wait time. So we've implemented that, and we're going to actively, that's why Mr. Huber would like to come back in a couple months, give you guys some more updates, and hopefully have you some solid data on that. And at the same time, we can get with our partners at Hillsborough and one of the metro facilities and bring some data on that as well. And then we'll bring back data on missed pickups for the entire city, and we can pull a lot of data for that kind of stuff and bring to us. Yep.
So I would also like to say, I go into the dump on a fairly regular basis for my business, and it, from the beginning of this year, it is about a 2-hour trip to get in line and get up to where I can dump my garbage. The last 2 times, which were obviously both in July, I was able to pull off of the street when I approached into your driveway, which is a big improvement. And the times are down to about an hour. So that's a lot of production that you guys are saving for contractors out there. Please keep it up, and thank you for getting that handled.
And to be helpful, any data that you do derive, like KPIs or a link to the URL for the camera, we'll be glad to mirror that on the city webpage, just so that even more eyeballs are on it.
Clarification on the camera. Was that when the lanes were done being built or now?
I met with a contractor last Thursday to start getting bids to put some additional cameras at the facility, and that was one of them.
Excellent.
So we're good. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Good to see you one.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the library internet policy. How are you today?
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Corey Burkle, Library Director. I'll keep this short and sweet. A few weeks ago now, I came to you for the first read through of the request for council action for an update of our library internet policy. So today, my recommendation is that the City Council approve the updated internet policy as reviewed by legal counsel. The Library Advisory Board approved the policy before slight changes were made by legal counsel. So the policy will go back to the Library Advisory Board when they next meet in September of 2026. Are there any questions for me?
All right, very reasonable policy. Would somebody like to make a motion? Please.
Yeah, I've read it. It's just very common sense and reasonable. So I move that we adopt the updated library policy, internet policy.
Second that.
All right, it is been moved in second that we adopt resolution 2026-4043. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
And next is our intergovernmental agreement to provide court services for Dundee. Don't let me forget you. Your report.
Save the best for last, right?
Obviously not.
Yeah. I just had to keep it exciting. Okay. So, as you guys probably saw in the RCA, so we've been in talks with Dundee about absorbing their court procedures. So, after sitting over in this court area when we were flooded, there would be lots of residents who would come in with a citation and we'd say, oh, you have to go pay that in Dundee because you were cited in Dundee. And so I think it gets a little confusing for people because they don't realize that we're two separate, entities and all of that. So administratively, I think it makes sense for us to absorb their court because it's our officers doing the citations. And then they would just come to one court instead of having two separate courts because it can get confusing. So do you have anything you want to say on some of this?
Yeah, some of the things that would streamline as well as Dundee has a night court that meets once a month. So
you could actually, and we have to supply a bailiff for that as well, because it has to be just like Newberg Municipal Court. So that would be a better schedule as well. We don't have officers going to court during the day and then also at night. It would just be narrowed down to one court. I think it would further cement the relationship that we already have with the two cities and that share the same police department. And like Katie said, it would just streamline things and make it a lot easier.
Yeah, and Dundee's court currently only meets once a month, and our court meets weekly. So it just makes more sense to get people, in and out and seen quicker for any citations, or if they want to talk to the judge, it makes it a lot quicker rather than having to wait a whole month or longer, depending on how booked up their dockets are for court. So looking at their citations, the citations that Dundee gets varies between 25 to 100 a month, which is not a lot of activity. If you compare to what we do about 500 to high 600s a month. So administratively for our court staff, there wouldn't be any new FTE needed. This would not be any additional work for us to take on for our existing staff. And it would be relatively easy for us to fit in all the extra citations for this. So working with the Dundee city manager, we came up with an agreement based on the last 3 years of revenue. We did kind of an average, which is how we came up with the 55,000 citation revenue that Dundee has been receiving. And so we took a 70-30 split. So we would take approximately a 30% administrative fee to process that. And so basing it off of the 55,000, we would just give them a flat rate of 3,200 a month. And then we would just keep the remainder of that, because we're expecting citation numbers to be relatively the same as they've been in the past. And so we're going to reevaluate that after a year and see if that still makes sense. And if it doesn't, we can come up with maybe a different reporting system or something like that. But just doing a flat rate seemed easiest for us to do this right now, rather than having to do by paid citation, because we have people who, get on payment plans, or it just gets really confusing when you do it that way. So if we just do a flat rate, then they were good with that and we were fine with that as well.
Totally supportive, just some logistical questions. I like anything when we can combine services with Dundee. Wish we could do that with water, and still think we can, but I don't believe that it's going to be no staff time increase. I am the queen of overcommitting, and every time I've ever done an assessment like this, I always try to say it's not going to be a staff time increase, but 100 additional, even however many FTE you have that spread over 500, I just don't see that. And so obviously I trust you and I trust you. And if you say you're good, then I'm good. But I just think that you're going to need more. And I also just worry because those 100 citations have to go somewhere within our current court docket. And so obviously hours will have to be extended. That's more dedicated FTE. I don't know how much, if that increases the judge's FTE or if it's just transferred over or whatever, but I just want us to be mindful of it and all of us really take note that this could be a budget ask next year, and that we may need to go to Dundee. And I think that you're saying we would get 30% of it. Yeah. No, we get 70 and they can have 30.
I like where you're going with that.
Sorry, Mayor Ford, but I just, why do they get 70? What are they doing? They should even get 0.
I mean, I liked that approach, but
I'm serious though. What are they doing?
I know.
If we're processing it, we're citing them, we're processing it, we are conducting court, no.
Well,
we're doing all of your public safety.
Yeah.
So we get all of your public safety revenue.
One of the things that's written into the RCA is that we can evaluate it in a year and see where we're at, see those asks. I would say that they're canceling their court. They still pay for 3 police officers. So when they're assigned, we're their police officers. So it is their city. So it's similar to what we have in Newberg. All the fines that come through Newberg go to Newberg. typically the fines always go, if it's municipal court, they stay in Dundee already anyway. So they're collecting 100% of the money now, but Katie has worked out that it would be a 70-30 split.
And it's because they already pay for the officers.
Yeah.
So it's like, I
I
get
was
that.
with
You
you
don't
at
do
the beginning.
expenses, and if you don't, yeah, expenses are going to have to follow, but I still think it should be like on the table with them that 30/70 potentially needs to change next
Yeah,
year.
and I think it might. And to address some of the staffing stuff, so our judge, we pay the judge a flat fee monthly, and we have him technically booked for an 8-hour day, all day Tuesday. He's never had to stay that long, but technically he is ours all day for that at the rate that we pay. And then we did an evaluation when we were looking at the types of citations. Most of them are typically ones that you wouldn't go to court for necessarily. Most people would probably qualify for traffic school, which is a simple phone call and paperwork, or they might just pay it online. So it wouldn't, most of the ones were not heavy workload involved, which also took into consideration because we were looking at the types of citations that they were cited for typically. But that is a good point. I mean, we did look into that too about, you know, with extra workload, is it worth the fines, the money that we were going to get for that? And so it for sure will be something that we reevaluate in a year to see if it still makes sense.
I think it's important too. Katie and I both went to the court administrator. She was thoughtful, but didn't blink an eye. So, you know, we
Yeah.
certainly weren't forcing this on her at all. We just actually started a conversation with me asking, hey, could you handle this amount of increase in citations without adding people? And like I said, thoughtful, but was not a big deal. But I do like that we can evaluate it in a year.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the strain on staff. Is this like if every one of these went to court, this is like 1 to 5 a day in traffic court? Is that it?
I doubt it is even that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I can't give you solid numbers, or I wouldn't swear to it because I don't know for sure, but I think most people call and go through the violations bureau. And like I said, we're having, if the judge is, when he's actually on the bench, I would say maybe an hour and a half. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are taking care of that administratively versus actually coming to court.
Would anybody, Will?
I just wanted to
You can't make a
mention
motion,
that Courtney is a very strong negotiator and Katie's a very strong negotiator too. So
I was where Elise was at. I'm like, we should get everything.
I had to talk Katie off the wall.
Would anybody like to make a motion? Derek?
I move that we adopt resolution 2026-4039.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 2026-4039. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last item on our agenda, saving the best for last,
Sorry, Katie.
is Jerry's report on the River Street Committee.
Yes, so we had our third River Street Ad Hoc Committee meeting this last Thursday. It was a really good meeting. So that meeting brought us back up from a timeline standpoint to where we were when we decided to pause and initiate the ad hoc. So we have had some really incredible community input. I want to call out Mr. Jim Talt for all of his engineering drawing work that he has done. We took the initial plan, the engineering team through Keller finessed it a little bit and brought a full roll plot that we could look at from a committee standpoint, which gave us the opportunity to kind of look at what this might look like block by block throughout River Street. We had some really great questions from the members of our ad hoc committee. They have clearly spent lots of time talking with members both on and off River Street, and I think had a lot of really good input. So I think it was exciting to get to a point where we felt like we could really visualize the plan and potentially what that plan could look like. And then we also, I think the difficult part of our meeting this last week, we had some really incredible expert guests who came and spent some time with us from the Oregon Department of Forestry. They were someone that I was connected with through some members from River Street. They have been incredibly gracious with their time, answering all of my questions. And then they actually came and spent the afternoon here in Newberg on Thursday. So they met with members of the city, and then we went out and spent a very long portion of time walking River Street, looking at the trees, reviewing trees, talking about kind of the impact that construction would have. And they have some really wonderful recommendations that I think we're going to be able to put into a plan for the trees. Ultimately, their recommendation was that all of the trees on River Street would need to be removed, which was, I think, hard to hear at that last meeting. So we ended that last meeting. We made a motion and approved the TALT plan as a plan that we would be moving forward for recommendation to the city. We also made a, what did we call it? It was a statement to go in the RFP around the importance that, thank you, give me the word I'm missing.
The motion was that a primary objective of the RFP would be to retain the existing curb width to avoid as much as possible taking people's front yard area.
So we think for the vast majority of spaces, we will be able to stay within that 58 foot. The intersections with the ADA might be a little bit tricky, but I know the engineers are already they've responded to some questions with really great feedback. So we are scheduled for we will have one more meeting in August where we are hopefully going to dig into the tree plan and tree recommendation with the guidance and the feedback from ODF, and hopefully ongoing citizen and community input so that we can come up with a really solid tree plan, with the hope that in September, we will be able to make a full one of those city council meetings, but if I can get on an agenda, that we can make a full recommendation, which will include the plan, a tree replacement plan, and prioritization around some RFP guidelines for both trees and width. So they've been very long meetings to this point, but I feel like we've made it through some pretty difficult, both technical and emotional content. And then this next meeting will be really solely focused on trees. So that is my status update.
I would just like to say that if nothing else comes out of this committee, they've chose a cross-section that was not one of the original drawings that we had provided to them. So if nothing better comes out of it, we at least have the citizens' recommendation for a very reasonable cross-section, which in my mind accomplishes all of the goals that I had set forth. So thank you very much. Well, 7:54, this meeting's adjourned.